In this video, I will be attempting to solve these three quantitative problems using Bing Chat, a free generative AI product by Microsoft. You can access it by going to bing.com/chat or by using Microsoft Edge. The objective here is to show examples of using prompts to guide AI towards a desired result. In the first question, I copied and pasted the question directly into Bing. 2 fair dice are rolled. What is the probability that the sum will be less than 4? These are the possible outcomes of rolling 2 dice, and only 3 of the 36 outcomes have sums less than 4. However, in Bing's response, it somehow ended up with 6 outcomes. It was definitely hallucinating here when it says only 3 of them have a sum of 2 and listed them as 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1, 1, repeating the same outcome 3 times. It also says that there are 3 outcomes that have a sum of 3 where there should be only 2. It went ahead to say that the probability is 6/36, which is incorrect. So I responded by saying the answer is incorrect. Can you check how you arrived at this number of favorable outcomes? And here is Bing's response. I apologize for the mistake. I have checked my calculation and realized that I have repeated the same outcomes 3 times for both sums of 2 and 3. Then he went on to say that 3 of these sums are less than 4 and gave the probability as 3/36 or 1/12. It also thanked me for pointing out the error, and I also appreciated the effort by giving it a thumbs up. Next, for this frequency table, there are 75 observations and I want to determine the missing values. So I took a screenshot of the table, labeled the boxes A, B, and C for missing values, clicked on the Add Image icon in Bing and pasted the screenshot. I then asked Bing to please find the values of A, B, and C, assuming the total frequency is 75. It was eager to use the relative frequency formula. So it says, since the total frequency is 75, A/75 equals C, which is correct. Note that it only uses single spacing to separate calculations, which make things sometimes difficult to understand. A comma or semicolon would be better. Anyway, it got confused and says B/75 equals 0.4, and also got C wrong. Things went downhill from there, and it ended up giving me the wrong answers. So I responded, the answers are incorrect. If the total frequency is 75, then A cannot be 750. Let's find them one at a time. Forget about B and C for a moment. Try finding A first. What is the value of A? Remember that the total frequency is 75. It replied by apologizing for the mistake, but apparently continued to work on the initial snapshot it obtained from the table and again produced wrong answers. I then asked it to ignore the relative frequencies and not mention B and C yet. I said, let's find A first if the total frequency is 75, but it just couldn't help itself. It went back to talking about relative frequency, mixed up the position of B and C, and got the wrong answer. I tried again to no avail. This shows that Bing is not there yet as far as reading images is concerned. Then I decided to narrate the problem using text as seen here. I gave the frequencies and the relative frequencies for each class. Suppose total frequency is 75, I asked it to find A, B, and C and to round answers to 3 decimal places if necessary. Then it started by calculating B using 30/75 here, which is correct. It then calculated A by subtracting 25 and 30 from 75 to get 20, which is also correct. It correctly calculated C as well and rounded to 3 decimal places as instructed. Everything finally went well. This shows that you might need to provide additional information or translate your image into text for GenAI to respond correctly. For the third question, I asked Bing to find the value of X in this image. After analyzing the image, it said it cannot find the value of X because the image does not contain enough information. It correctly stated that it would need the total number of observations to calculate the cumulative frequency percent, and without that information, it cannot determine the value of X. So I responded, You can find the total number of observations by adding up the frequencies. Then it said, "Thank you for providing me with more information." It went ahead and added up the frequencies. However, it gave an incorrect formula for cumulative frequency percent. The frequency here should be cumulative frequency. It proved to itself that it knows what it was doing by calculating the cumulative frequency percent for the first class. It went on to calculate the relative frequency but for the last class interval, 40 to 44, using the frequency 6, and called the result X. It got the whole thing wrong. Next I said, I'm looking to find the cumulative frequency percent for the 35 to 39 class, not the 40 to 44. Then this time, it gave the correct formula for cumulative frequency percent. It calculated the sum of the frequencies up to and including the 35 to 39 class to be 34, and divided that by 40 to obtain 85%, which is the correct answer. In conclusion, we see that Bing Chat or GenAI in general can assist in quantitative problem solving, but they still make a lot of mistakes. To make the most of these tools, it is our responsibility to understand our material, critically assess AI responses, and use creative prompts for accuracy. Thanks for watching.